Now, why would Vecna put all of Hawkins in a dream state or in a trance and create a dream world? Um, I will have to make a couple of videos that discuss only just that. I have a few guesses, I guess, but right now, I just want to put a pin on that, and get back to that later on, because I think the why is important. But for now, I just want to give you evidence on why I think season 5 takes place in his dreamscape. Ultimately, just a few words on this. He wants to reshape the world. Later on, I will talk more about that as well. He wants to reshape the world, and maybe this dreamscape that he creates is the first step toward that. But also, he's sadistic, he's controlling, he has a god complex. He has been for a very long time now possessed by the mind flayer. So, like, all of those could provide a reason as to why he would want to have people in his control as opposed to just senselessly killing them. And also, it will all go back, I guess, to his childhood traumas and loneliness as well. But I'm going to be talking about that later on, in more detail. Right now, I want to talk about Vecna's plan. And when I say Vecna's plan, I also, of course, mean by extension the mind flayers plan, but I want to talk about the mind flayers separately later on. Right now, I just want to talk about Vecna's plan because I think the way he and the mind flayer are taking over the world, over Hawkins, of course, first, and then the world, it also has a lot to do with Vecna's motivations and how Vecna wants to reshape the world. And I'm going to discuss a couple of monologues that Vecna gives, which also point toward my theory that all of season 5 is a dreamscape. So first there is this monologue that Billy, possessed by Vecna, told Elle in season 6 in a very epic scene with fantastic music. It's just Dicker Montgomery is such an amazing actor. I think he did an amazing job with this. But essentially, I think this monologue is very important because here Billy slash Vecna says, "You let us in, and now you are going to have to let us stay. Don't you see? All this time we've been building it for you. All that work, all that pain, all of it for you. And now it's time. Time to end it. And we are going to end you. And when you are gone, we are going to end your friends. And then we are going to end everyone." So, obviously, my delivery was not very masterful. But the point is that Vecna, along with the Mind Flayer, they want to stay in our world, right? And they've been building something. What is it that they've been building, right, up to this point, with so much work, with so much pain? So probably it has taken a lot of time. And I reckon that in season 6 we are going to see what it is that actually they've been planning, what exactly they've been building. I don't think we've exactly seen it yet, although the dreamscape in season 5 is probably part of their plan. But the point is that they are builders. Vecna slash the Mind Flayer, they say here essentially that they don't just want to senselessly destroy. They don't want to annihilate humanity. Um, they don't want to cause unutterable chaos, right? They've been building something. And of course, Al is a great part of that as a presumed recipient, future recipient of that, whatever that they built. And then there's also a crucial word here in this monologue that occurs 4 times. 4 times. It is obviously a very important word, and this is the word "and." E-and-D. It's very interesting because now when I rewatched season 3, I was like, it's interesting. Vecna, through Billy, is not saying that we are going to kill you, we are going to destroy you, we are going to exterminate you, we are going to end it and end you, Elle, and end your friends and end everyone. But end can mean a lot of things. It can mean end human beings as they are now. It can mean reshaping who they are. And later on, we're going to get back to this. But the point is, never once does Vecna use the word destroy or kill. They want to end things. And what that end means, well, that end can take a lot of different shapes. And then there is this, again, masterful monologue that Henry slash one gives to Al in season 4, episode 7. It's, again, a masterpiece of a monologue, and Jamie Campbell Bower's delivery is, I think, extremely memorable. I'm not going to read out the whole monologue. I actually really encourage you to go back and watch the monologue itself, but I'm going to be highlighting a couple of phrases here as well that tie into Vecna's overall plan. And one of them is immobilizing and feeding on the weak. Essentially, Henry here, or one, is talking about spiders and how spiders are his inspiration, specifically black widows. And he's talking about how these spiders, they immobilize and feed on the weak. They bring balance and order to an unstable ecosystem. And obviously, Henry considers the ecosystem that humans have built or shaped as very sick. He later on says that humans have erected a very unnatural structure in the world. And they've been poisoning the world, right? So obviously there is something to do with immobilizing people here, right? So he sort of sees himself as a spider who could, yes, become a predator, and as he says, a predator for good. And by extension, just as the spider, he could also immobilize and feed on the weak, bringing balance and order to an unstable ecosystem. Putting people in a trance, in a dream state, could be a first step toward immobilizing them. It would also, by the way, allow, for example, the Demogorgons to consider humans as food and eat them in the real physical world, but I don't want to make things confusing, and I'm going to return back to that later on. But the point is, Henry's talking about reshaping the world, right? So he wants to make his own rules, he says. I realized I could make my own rules. I could restore balance to a broken world and reshape the world. And he actually says to Al, we could reshape the world. We could remake it however we see fit. Join me. And reshaping is a very important word. He uses it in various manifestations, I think, later on in season 4 as well. And that's a key word. Henry slash one slash Vecna, they want to reshape the world. So I believe that putting people in a dream state as they reshape the world, it would kind of make sense because Vecna could essentially establish his own rules. He could make people do whatever he wants them to do, right? Um, and uh, and yeah, it makes sense. Again, they don't want to kill necessarily, or not more than they absolutely have to or want to, but they want to reshape the world. And then I'm going to be talking about Nancy's trance, when Vecna puts Nancy in a trance and shows him a vision, or shows her a vision in terms of what's going to happen to Hawkins. Um, and um, and then Vecna says, I want you to tell 11. I want you to tell her everything you see, tell her everything. I don't know why he insists on that. We're going to get back to that later on. But then Nancy says to the others later on, when she recounts this vision, that the vision of Hawkins in the future that Vecna showed her, she says, he showed me things that haven't happened yet, the most awful things. I saw a dark cloud spreading over Hawkins, downtown on fire, dead soldiers, and this giant creature with a gaping mouth. And this creature wasn't alone. Oops, there's a plural there that shouldn't be there. Anyways, never mind. So, and this creature wasn't alone. There were so many monsters, an army, and they were coming into Hawkins, into our neighborhoods, our homes. And then he showed me my mom, Holly, Mike, and they were all dot dot dot. She never says what happened to them. The assumption is that they're all dead, but she never says the words. She is actually so distraught. She's so distraught at what she saw in that vision that she only says, "Mom, Holly, Mike, and they were all," and then she sort of trails off. She cannot say so. We don't know what Nancy saw in that vision would happen to her mom and Holly and Mike. What if she saw them in a trance? What if she saw them jacked up to the hive mind, right? We don't know. But for sure, it's never once mentioned here that they die, right? Something worse could happen to them. Um, so um, then there's actually a dialogue between Vecna and Al in season 4, episode 9, where Vecna says some key things. He doesn't speak a lot, by the way, but when he does, he's very much to the point. And he says first, when they have this like duel in his mindscape, he says, Hawkins will burn and fall, and the rest of this senseless, broken world. And I will be there to pick up the pieces and remake it into something beautiful. There was a time when I hoped to have you by my side, but now I just want you to watch. So again, Wagner is saying that he wants to remake the world. And he wants to make it into something he considers beautiful. What that is exactly, who knows? But creating a dream world where he's in control of everything and everyone, um, and that he considers beautiful because people comply with his version of reality, um, why not? You know, why, like remaking or reshaping the world could mean that, or a first step towards that. And then he says to 11, now I just want you to watch. And when I first watched this episode, I thought that he meant, I just want you to watch as I kill Max. I want you to see that I want to essentially torture you, right? That way. But I think because he says, there was a time when I hope to have you by my side as I remake the world into something beautiful, but now I just want you to watch. I think it means that he wants Elle to watch him remake the world. And that's going to be very painful to Elle. And I think that is just super interesting from the perspective of what's going to happen in season 6. Does Elle suspect at any point in season 5 that maybe it's all an illusion and she's actually trapped somehow in Vecna's dream world? Um, and then she would just have to watch as her friends conform to this reality. Um, but anyways, more on that later on. And then Vecna says something that I think every word is true that he says. He says, you and your friends, you think you have won. You have already lost. This is only the beginning of the end. Again, that word end, right? So here begins essentially at the end of season 4, the realization of his plan, which has something to do with ending everyone, right? But what ending everyone means, nobody really knows at this point, I think. But when he says you have already lost, well, Vecna says in season 5, he's many things, but he's not a liar. And actually, in D&D, I'm not a D&D expert, so maybe D&D experts can chime in here, but Vecna is a character that is often played in Dungeons and Dragons games as a character who, as per his lore, never lies. He manipulates the truth, perhaps, or he covers up parts of the truth, but essentially he never lies. And I think here he's telling the truth that his plan is afoot and that Al and his friends have already lost in the sense that Hawkins is about to fall. And this is where I'm going to stop right now. And in the next video, I am going to discuss why I think it makes sense that Vecna is reshaping the world as he sees fit in season 5, and how that is aligned with the character alignment that was given to him by the creators of Stranger Things. Because in the credit scene of like when the credits roll at the end of the last episode of season 5, it is highlighted that Vecna is a lawful evil. So we're going to talk about what being a lawful evil means in D&D and how that ties into Vecna wanting to reshape the world, and how creating a dreamscape as a first step toward that, and that the dreamscape being what we see in season 5. So yeah, how Vecna being a lawful evil ties into all of that. So let's talk about the end of season 5. Season